Welcome to our explainer. Today, we're digging into a really interesting flaw inside the insurance industry. And no, it's not about stock prices or big disasters. It's actually a problem rooted in human behavior, a system that can, believe it or not, end up rewarding deception. This is the story of what we call perverse incentives. So to really get a handle on this, let's kick things off with a real-world story. Now, on the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, but when you look closer, it peels back the curtain on a much bigger systemic issue, one that creates some serious risks for everyone involved. I want you to imagine this scenario. A man buys a health insurance policy. For 5 whole years, he does everything right. He pays every single premium right on time. Then, the day finally comes when he actually needs it, he files a claim and it gets flat out rejected. So you have to ask, how on earth is that even possible? And listen, we're not talking about a small amount of cash here. Over those 5 years, his payments added up to almost 86,000 rupees. That's a pretty big investment in his own security, and suddenly it looked like it was all for nothing. So what was the company's official reason? Well, they came back and said he'd failed to disclose a pre-existing condition. Basically, they claimed he didn't tell them about his full medical history when he applied. And to be fair, in the insurance world, that's usually a slam-dunk reason for denying a claim. But here's where the story takes a massive turn. The man was adamant. He swore he had been totally upfront with the agent, who, by the way, was a family friend. He said, "I told him everything, including the fact that he was in remission from throat cancer. So what gives? Where did things go so wrong?" And that right there, that disconnect, that's what gets us to the real heart of the problem here. This isn't just about one guy's rejected claim, it's about the very structure of how insurance is sold in the first place. You see, let's be honest, insurance isn't exactly a product that people are lining up around the block to buy. So to get people to sell it, the industry relies really heavily on commissions. And this creates this intense, high-pressure environment where the main goal is just to close the deal. For a lot of these companies, that's their #1 engine for growth. And that's where a powerful incentive can get, well, weird. It can become what's known as a perverse incentive. So what is that? Well, it's basically when a reward, a good intention, backfires spectacularly. It ends up encouraging behavior that leads to the exact opposite of what you wanted, pushing an agent to act against the interests of the customer, and honestly, even against the long-term interests of the insurer itself. Okay, so how does this trick actually work? How can an agent manipulate this system? Let's break down the mechanics of this deception piece by piece. The agent in our story knew an unwritten rule of the industry. Getting a health policy for a cancer survivor, even if they're in perfect remission, is pretty much impossible. And look, this isn't just companies being mean, right? It all comes down to the numbers, to actuarial data. Insurers create these things called risk pools, and they set premiums based on the shared risk of that group. A history of a major illness just throws those calculations way off, making that person too high risk for a standard policy. So you can see exactly how it plays out, step by step. The customer does the right thing and tells the truth. But the agent, knowing that the truth will kill the sale and their commission, just leaves that little detail about the cancer off the application. The insurer sees a clean application from a supposedly healthy person and boom, they issue the policy, the agent gets their paycheck, and the customer's left holding what is basically a worthless piece of paper. And the thing is, this isn't just a one-off trick. This kind of behavior, driven by these powerful incentives, shows up in other ways, too. It's almost less of a bug in the system and more of a really damaging unintended feature. All right, let's look at another classic gimmick. What happens when a customer, trying to be savvy, asks for a discount on their premium? Well, insurers don't really just hand out discounts because premiums are very carefully tied to risk, and age is a huge factor in that. So some agents get creative. The trick is almost laughably simple. The agent just, well, they lie. They shave 10 years, maybe more, off the customer's real age on the application form. Suddenly, a 60-year-old is listed as 50. A 35-year-old becomes 25. So on the surface, this looks amazing for the customer, right? Their premium drops, maybe by a lot, and they think, wow, my agent is a genius. They got me a great deal. But what's really happened is that their entire policy is now built on a foundation of lies, giving the insurance company a perfectly legal, airtight reason to deny any claim they ever make. So, after hearing all this, what does it mean for you? How are you supposed to navigate this kind of world? Well, just understanding that these hidden risks exist is the first and honestly the most important step. In a system like this, you absolutely have to be your own best advocate.
Okay, so here's the bottom line. Your most powerful defense is to be vigilant. Before any form is submitted, whether it's on paper or online, you have to insist on reviewing the final copy yourself. And don't just glance at it. Read every single line. Check your date of birth. Make sure your medical history is listed completely and accurately. If anything feels even slightly off, don't just let it slide. Pick up the phone and call the insurance company directly to get clarification.
There's a quote that just absolutely nails this entire issue. It says, "Never trust anybody implicitly, because their incentives may not bode well for your ambitions." And it's not about being paranoid or cynical. It's just about being smart and realistic. When someone's paycheck depends directly on you buying something, you have to remember their goals and your goals might not be perfectly aligned. And that leaves us with one last really big question to think about. When you have a system that incentivizes the wrong kind of behavior, who's truly at fault here? Is it just a few bad apples, a few unethical agents, or is the deeper problem the system itself? A system of incentives that can push even good people to do things that hurt the very customers they're meant to protect.